Today, we uncover the shocking truth about UK tinned baked beans. Walk into any supermarket and you'll see entire pallet stacks dedicated to them. They are a British staple, sitting on toast for breakfast, piled onto jacket potatoes, or partnered with a full English. We eat over 2 million cans every single day in this country. But here's what most people don't realise. That innocent-looking tin of beans you're grabbing without a second thought could be loaded with hormone-disrupting chemicals, more sugar than a chocolate bar, and artificial red colouring for the tomato sauce. Some of the brands marketing themselves as healthy organic options are actually among the worst offenders. The industry has spent decades convincing us that baked beans are wholesome, nutritious, practically a health food. Meanwhile, they've been quietly ramping up sugar content, adding mysterious flavourings they refuse to specify, and lining cans with chemicals linked to fertility problems and metabolic disorders. But here's the thing. When enough of us start paying attention, when we start rejecting these substandard products and demanding better, these companies have to listen. They have to change. That's why I need you to hit that hype button right now. Every single hype matters because it pushes this video to more people, spreads this information further, and creates real pressure on these corporations to clean up their act. You're not just supporting a video, you're joining a movement to hold the food industry accountable and protect public health. So smash that hype button and let's get into exactly which beans you need to avoid and which ones are actually worth buying. And leave a comment with your thoughts and what topic I should cover next. I read every single one. And subscribe because I'm doing more videos like this. Now let's get into it. Number 1. Biona Organic Baked Beans. This is the brand that probably shocked me the most during research. You see that green organic label and assume you're making the healthy choice. You're paying premium prices, feeling good about yourself, thinking you're avoiding all the nasty stuff in conventional brands. But Biona has quietly become the highest sugar baked beans brand you can buy in the UK. We're talking 14.75 grams of sugar per adult serving. That's nearly 3 teaspoons of sugar. To put that in perspective, a 2-finger Kit Kat has less sugar than a serving of these beans. A chocolate biscuit has less sugar than what you're pouring onto your toast for breakfast. And here's the really disturbing part. 6 years ago, Biona's sugar content was already high, but it's increased by 40% since then. While other brands have been reducing sugar in response to health guidelines, Biona went the opposite direction. They saw the organic market growing, people willing to pay more for healthier options, and they exploited that trust. The ingredients list starts innocently enough, with haricot beans at 49%, water, tomato puree at 21%, then comes sugar, not a small amount hidden away, a significant ingredient. They've also added brown rice flour and sea salt. The can is BPA-free, which they'll happily advertise, but they're hoping you won't flip it over and actually read the nutrition panel. This is organic in name only. It meets the technical certification for pesticide-free beans and tomatoes, but nutritionally, it's arguably worse than conventional brands. Parents are giving this to their kids, thinking they're making a responsible choice, and instead, they're delivering a sugar bomb that'll spike blood glucose and set up cravings for the rest of the day. Number 2. Heinz Baked Beans. The classic blue tin, the brand that dominates UK supermarket shelves and claims over half the market share. For generations, Heinz has been synonymous with baked beans in this country, but that dominance hasn't translated into quality or ethics. Until 2019, Heinz openly used BPA in their can linings. BPA is a hormone-disrupting chemical that mimics estrogen in the body, linked to fertility problems, early puberty in children, increased cancer risk, and metabolic disorders. When the evidence became impossible to ignore, they quietly switched to alternative linings. But here's the problem. They've never been fully transparent about what those alternatives actually are. Some BPA substitutes like BPS and BPF are showing similar hormonal effects in early research. Without clear disclosure, we have no way of knowing if the new linings are actually safer or just differently dangerous. Beyond the can itself, Heinz sits at the bottom of ethical ratings despite being the biggest brand. We're talking poor scores for environmental impact, workers' rights, and corporate transparency. The beans themselves contained 50% haricot beans, 36% tomatoes, water, sugar, spirit vinegar, modified corn flour, and salt. That modified corn flour is processed starch used as a thickener, stripped of its natural nutrients and fibre. But the real issue is the corporate giant behind it. Heinz has the resources to do better, to use safer packaging, to source more ethically, to reduce sugar and additives. They choose not to because profit margins matter more than public health. Every time you buy that blue tin, you're supporting a company that sees you as a revenue stream, not a person deserving safe food.
Number 3. Tesco baked beans, the standard own-brand option that millions of people grab without thinking. It's cheap, it's convenient, it's on every shelf. But look at the ingredients list and you'll spot something genuinely bizarre. Paprika extract appears twice. Once listed normally as an ingredient, and then again listed as a color. Why would they do that? If paprika extract is already in the product for flavor, why separately declare it as a coloring agent? This kind of duplication suggests they're using it in quantities high enough that it's functioning primarily as artificial coloring, but they're trying to make it look more natural by splitting the declaration. It's a labeling trick to avoid admitting they're using colorants to make the sauce look richer and more tomatoey than it actually is. The full ingredients include haricot beans at 49%, tomato puree at just 20%, sugar, modified maize starch, salt, and then it gets interesting. Maltodextrin, which is a highly refined starch that spikes blood sugar even faster than regular sugar. Color, listed as paprika extract, then paprika extract again, clove extract, capsicum extract, and the vaguest term possible, flavoring. Not flavorings, plural, not natural flavoring, just flavoring. What is it? Where does it come from? Is it synthetic? The label won't tell you. Food manufacturers are required to list ingredients, but flavoring is one of those convenient umbrella terms that can hide dozens of chemical compounds. For a product as simple as baked beans, tomatoes, beans, seasoning, this ingredients list is unnecessarily complicated. Each of those extracts and additives is there to compensate for using less actual tomato and cheaper ingredients. They're building flavor artificially instead of using real food. Number 4. Branston baked beans. This is the brand that positions itself as the slightly better alternative to Heinz, the one for people who want to feel like they're making a more thoughtful choice without spending organic prices. The marketing implies it's healthier, more premium, a cut above the basic options. It's a lie. Branston contains exactly the same sugar content as Heinz, 5.9 grams per 100 grams. The beans are 51% haricot beans, 38% tomatoes, water, sugar, modified maize starch, and here's their big innovation, reduced sodium sea salt. That's it. That's their health claim. They use sea salt with slightly less sodium, which sounds fancy, but makes virtually no difference to your actual sodium intake from a serving of beans. It's pure marketing. Meanwhile, Branston is owned by Princes Ltd, a company with consistently poor ethical ratings. We're talking below average scores for environmental practices, supply chain transparency, and workers' rights. They've been involved in multiple controversies over tuna sourcing and labour conditions, but they'll happily slap a Union Jack on the label and play up the British heritage angle while cutting corners everywhere that actually matters. The modified maize starch is the same processed thickener you'll find in the cheapest brands. The sugar content is identical to the market leader they're supposedly better than. This is a fake healthy swap designed to capture consumers who are starting to question Heinz but don't want to spend more money or venture into the organic section. It's cynical, it's calculated, and it's working, because the beans sit right next to Heinz on the shelf at a similar price point, creating the illusion of choice while delivering the same substandard product. Number 5. Morrison's baked beans with sausages. Now, I know this isn't purely baked beans, but I felt I couldn't skip past this. We're entering the territory of ultra-processed combinations, where you're getting not just questionable beans, but questionable meat products swimming in the same tin. The sausages in this product contain diphosphates, listed as E450, which are stabilizers used to retain moisture and improve texture in processed meats. Research has linked phosphate additives to increased gut inflammation, kidney stress, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. Your body doesn't need added phosphates, it gets plenty from natural food sources. But the meat industry loves them because they make low-quality meat feel more substantial and juicy. These sausages also contain lactose, which is milk sugar, often used as a filler in cheap meat products.
Then there's yeast extract, which is basically a sneaky way to add MSG-like savory flavor without actually writing MSG on the label. But here's what really bothers me about this product. The sausages are listed as filled into UK and non-UK beef casings. Why the vagueness? Why not just say where the casings come from? This kind of ambiguous labeling usually means they're sourcing from wherever's cheapest at any given time, with no consistent standards for animal welfare or quality control. The beans themselves make up only 39% of the product. The sausages are 16%, and they're made from pork, water, wheat flour, pork fat, potato starch, salt, the lactose we mentioned, the diphosphate stabilizers, yeast extract, and beef collagen casing. You're eating water, wheat flour, and potato starch masquerading as meat. This is what happens when two ultra-processed products get combined into one tin. It's convenience food engineered for maximum shelf stability and minimum cost, with your health as an afterthought.
Number 6. Asda baked beans. The budget option. The one you grab when you're trying to save money and figure beans are beans, so why pay more? Because cheap food comes with hidden costs. Asda beans contain something I've seen in multiple supermarket-owned brands now. The mysterious term flavorings. Plural. Not flavoring, flavorings, which means multiple undisclosed flavoring compounds that they're not required to specify. Could be natural extracts, could be synthetic chemicals, could be anything that falls under the regulatory definition of a flavoring substance. You have no way to know. They also use paprika extract as both a spice and a color, the same dubious dual-purpose trick we saw with Tesco. The full ingredients list is haricot beans at 49%, tomatoes at 36%, water, sugar, modified maize starch, salt, paprika, onion powder, those flavorings we can't identify, and paprika extract. For context, this is a 210-gram tin, which is smaller than standard. They're targeting people who want single servings or smaller portions, often elderly people living alone or students in dorm rooms. These are vulnerable consumers who might not have the knowledge or resources to read labels carefully and compare options. And Asda is giving them the bare minimum quality, padded out with modified starches and hidden flavorings to create the illusion of tomatoey richness. The price might be low, but you're paying with your health. That modified maize starch is empty calories. Those unspecified flavorings are question marks you're putting in your body. The sugar content is still substantial. Budget brands aren't evil by default, but when a supermarket chain uses vague labeling and cheap fillers while marketing to price-conscious shoppers, that's exploitation. Number 7. Sainsbury's baked beans and pork sausages. This one takes the ultra-processed combination to another level with a detail that should alarm anyone who understands nutrition. The wheat flour in the sausages is fortified with calcium carbonate, iron, niacin, and thiamine. Now, fortification sounds positive, sounds like they're adding vitamins and minerals to make the product healthier, but fortification is actually a red flag. It means the base ingredient has been so heavily processed, so stripped of its natural nutrients, that manufacturers have to add synthetic vitamins back in just to make it look nutritionally viable. Whole grain flour doesn't need fortification because it retains its natural vitamins and minerals. White flour needs fortification because the refining process removes the bran and germ where all the nutrients live. So when you see fortified flour in a sausage, you're looking at the cheapest, most processed wheat flour available, used as a filler, then sprinkled with lab-made vitamins so the nutrition panel doesn't look completely empty. These sausages also contain diphosphate stabilizers, the same E450 we discussed earlier with its inflammation and kidney stress concerns. They've got pork fat, potato starch, salt, lactose, yeast extract, and pepper extracts. The beans make up 40% of the tin. The sausages are 16%. You're getting more water and starch than actual meat. This is a chemical cocktail masquerading as a convenient meal. Parents are heating this up for their kids after school. Students are living on it at university. Elderly people are buying it because the sausages feel like a protein addition.
But there's nothing nourishing here. It's engineered food designed to hit a price point and sit on a shelf for months with the absolute minimum real ingredients necessary to legally call it baked beans and sausages. Number 8. Heinz baked beans and pork sausages. We're ending the avoid list with Heinz again because their sausage product manages to be even worse than their standard beans. These sausages contain triphosphates, listed as E451, which is an emulsifier used to bind water and fat in processed meat. Research has linked triphosphates specifically to gut inflammation and disruption of the intestinal barrier. Your gut lining is supposed to be selectively permeable, letting nutrients through while keeping toxins and bacteria out. Emulsifiers like triphosphates can compromise that barrier, potentially contributing to inflammatory bowel conditions and systemic inflammation. The sausages are only 55% pork. Let that sink in. Less than 6/10 of what you're eating as a sausage is actual meat. The rest is water, rice flour, pea starch, pork fat, and that triphosphate emulsifier. The beans make up just 38% of the tin, with tomatoes at 31%. This is the lowest bean content we've seen. You're buying a tin called baked beans and sausages, where beans are the minority ingredient. It's thickened sauce with meat-flavored starch tubes floating in it. This represents everything wrong with ultra-processed food. You've got processed beans high in sugar and made with modified starch, combined with processed meat products that are more filler than flesh, bound together with inflammatory emulsifiers, all packed in a tin that may or may not have safe lining materials. It's two ultra-processed foods creating a synergistic assault on your digestive system. The inflammatory compounds in the emulsifiers and stabilizers, the blood sugar spike from the refined starches and sugar, the lack of real nutrition despite substantial calories. People eat this and wonder why they feel sluggish, why their digestion is off, why they're gaining weight on what seems like basic simple food. This is why.
So where do you actually find good baked beans? Look for brands that keep the ingredients list short and recognizable. Check the sugar content. Anything over 5 grams per 100 grams is too high. Verify the can is BPA-free, which should be stated clearly on the label. And prioritize organic certification when possible. Not because organic automatically means low sugar, we saw that isn't true, but because it guarantees no pesticide residues and often indicates a company that cares about ingredient quality. The beans I'm about to share aren't perfect, but they're miles ahead of what we just covered. Whole earth organic baked beans are the gold standard for anyone trying to avoid added sugar. They use concentrated apple juice for natural sweetness instead of refined sugar, which brings the sugar content down to just 3.9 grams per 100 grams compared to the 4 to 6 grams you'll find in most conventional brands. But it's not just about sugar. The recipe includes tamari soya sauce, cider vinegar, and an unusual blend of spices like cinnamon, dill, kelp, nutmeg, and cayenne. This creates complex flavor without relying on sugar or artificial flavorings. Everything is organic, the cans are BPA-free, and there's nothing artificial anywhere in the product. The ingredients are haricot beans at 49%, tomatoes at 13%, apple juice, rice flour, sea salt, cider vinegar, onion powder, spices, and tamari soya sauce. It's also gluten-free for anyone with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity. This is what baked beans should taste like, rich and savory and slightly sweet from real fruit, not cloying from refined sugar. Suma Organic Baked Beans Low Sugar takes a different approach by using agave syrup instead of sugar. Agave has a lower glycemic index than white sugar, meaning it doesn't spike your blood glucose as sharply. They use just 1.8% agave compared to the typical 4 to 5% sugar in conventional brands. But Suma deserves recognition for more than just ingredients. They're a worker-owned cooperative, which means profits are shared among employees rather than extracted by distant shareholders. They've earned the Ethical Consumer Best Buy label for their sourcing practices, environmental standards, and labor conditions. The beans are organic, vegan, and packed in BPA-free cans. The ingredients are haricot beans at 45%, water, tomato puree at 4%, agave syrup at 1.8%, onion, maize starch, sunflower oil, sea salt,
black pepper, and ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. When you buy Suma, you're supporting ethical business practices while getting a genuinely cleaner product. Tesco organic baked beans prove that supermarket-owned brands can do better when they choose to. The organic certification means no pesticides or herbicides on the beans or tomatoes. The bean content is higher than most conventional brands at 53% compared to the typical 49 to 50%, which means you're getting more actual protein and fiber per tin. They use citric acid from citrus fruits to regulate acidity instead of spirit vinegar, and the spices are organic paprika, chili powder, and garlic powder. The ingredients are organic haricot beans at 53%, organic tomato puree at 21%, water, organic sugar, organic maize starch, salt, organic rice flour, citric acid as an acidity regulator, and those organic spices. Yes, it still contains sugar, but everything is certified organic and the ingredients list is straightforward, with no mysterious flavorings or additives. This shows Tesco knows how to make decent beans when they're targeting the organic market. They just choose not to apply those standards to their conventional range. Suma organic baked beans in their standard version still deserves a spot on the good list despite containing sugar. They maintain the same ethical cooperative structure, the same ethical consumer best buy rating, and the same commitment to organic sourcing. The difference from their low-sugar version is they use regular sugar instead of agave. But even with sugar, the recipe is simpler than mainstream brands. They use Italian tomatoes at 30%, which gives a richer flavor, and the ingredients remain pronounceable and minimal. You're looking at haricot beans at 45%, tomatoes at 30%, water, sugar, onion, sunflower oil, maize starch, salt, black pepper, and ascorbic acid. When you compare this to Heinz or Branston, with their modified starches and vague flavorings, the difference is clear. Suma prioritizes quality ingredients and transparent sourcing. They're not hiding anything. They're not using chemical tricks to make cheap beans taste expensive. This is honest food from an honest company, and that matters. The baked beans aisle doesn't have to be a minefield. You just need to know what you're looking for and which brands actually respect their customers. If this video opened your eyes to what's really in those tins, hit that hype button one more time to make sure this information reaches everyone who needs it. Drop a comment and tell me which food we should investigate next, because I want to know what you're concerned about. And subscribe because I'm going to keep making videos like this, shining a light on the products that don't deserve your money and celebrating the ones that do. Until next time, read your labels, trust your instincts, and protect your plate.